Thank you for being here on time. I love that. Um, this is a nice little cohesive package that hopefully works, and it works best if everybody gets every little piece of it. So I have just a few little welcoming things. One is just I'm so grateful you're here because this is really my reason for living. It's just so much meaningful stuff to me, and it's also been a big, huge part of my transformation. And I feel like I am using it all the time and helping other people transform. And it's a big hope of mine that people will experience a little taste and then go run with it in any way that you do. And I believe there's quite a few people that have by now. I have a free toolkit that describes the process in depth. And I will put all that information in the chat a little bit later when I know that everybody's here who's going to be here. And then you can it's quite comprehensive. You could figure out what you like and what you don't like and use whatever you like and toss the rest of it wherever you toss things. Flush, whatever you want to do with that. Okay, so there's kind of three converging things that happen with what I'm up to these days. One is this Alternatives to Violence project, which was a prison-based program that developed in Attica in 1975, and it was, not Attica, it was Greenhaven, New York, after the Attica uprising. Attica uprising was a riot, a brutal, terrible catastrophe that happened in 1972, and it was people felt they were being absolutely mistreated while incarcerated in New York State, and they've fought back. They had a situation. Actually, there were little flare-ups all over the state, but not everybody was publicized. But in Attica, there was CEOs, correctional officers were killed, inmates were killed, or incarcerated people were killed, and just a bloodbath. And so people were farmed all over, and one group was farmed to a prison called Greenhaven, and they became passionate about, we've got to do something. There's a lot of young people in this prison. They are on a just a train ride to a train wreck. Let's see what we can do. And they invited civil rights leaders. First, they invited Quakers, who in turn invited civil rights leaders, and altogether they made this mishmash of a project that was 3-day workshop in a prison, or a series of workshops, however you look at it. And really, really transformative. And I happened to go as a volunteer when I was in a state that I was in and out of hospitals. And it was so transformative after I had been diagnosed the first time at 6 years old. So at 33, I went into the prison, and I had more healing in 3 days than I had had in all those years. And so I said, I know I'm going to be connected to this process for the rest of my life. And so far, so good on that count. So that's that. And then because I had these gifts, I said, I'm going to take this to the peer movement. This is really meaningful stuff. And so I did a bunch of stuff. I worked for NIAPRAS, which is an organization in New York you may or may not know about, and other peer-run organizations. And everything I did sort of involved integrating this as best I could. And then finally I started a business, but it's not all about me. But the third piece was this organization that I'm now involved with called Earthwaking. It's a community of people that really believe that their purpose on Earth right now is to bring heaven to us. On Earth as it is in heaven. That seems to be the whole goal all along, if you have some kind of a Christian bent, which I never did. I was a diehard atheist, but at this point in time, I am not anymore. And partly because of my experiences that got me hospitalized were very, very, actually messianic, very, very dramatic in that way. So these folks are doing the work as far as I'm concerned, and self-responsibility is a number one key to the work of getting us into a sane planet. And so I'm very passionate about the content of this as well as the structure that I'm putting it into. So it's not all about me talking. It's all about us doing things together and bringing the wisdom from within each of us. So there is in Alternatives to Violence project, as well as Peace Work, as well as Earthwaking, a very strong kind of philosophical or spiritual core. In Alternatives to Violence project, we call it transforming power. And I would say in Earthwaking, it is now being called God and Christ. And in the peer movement, I don't know what it is, but we all seem to have truth that bubbles up, and it's all very similar truth in all three of those organizations. I just wanted to mention that. And There is a structure to this. I have a agenda that I'm going to share. Whoops, I have to do something quicker. I'm going to ruin a little surprise. It's not really much of a surprise, but I want to just get this back to the right place. Here we go. And share screen. And here we go. So piecework and self-responsibility. So this always follows a structured format where we say a welcome, which is what I'm in the middle of. I'm going to do an agenda preview right now, which is looking through. I'd take one moment, very short time to address community agreements. Normally, we could take an hour if we had to, but not today. Grounding, something to bring us in touch with our hearts, each other, and our higher power. And then we have a go-round that's called a gathering. And it's this statement that we all finish in turn without interruption. And then we have a exercise I'm calling shift fruits. And I'll explain that when we get there. And then we have a light and lively. There's always some playful, goofy thing in the middle that just changes up the energy and reminds us that we're children. And if that's biblical thing about you got to be like one to get into the kingdom of heaven, there you go. By the way, I have a ministry now of sorts. I have a church that I'm operating. So there is a little bit of a God flavor to me these days. And I'll tell you, it's hard to get used to from inside this person. But better seeds is the final exercise, which is a really powerful self-awareness tool. And oh my God, it really changes lives in major ways. So I will be happy to pass this agenda on to anybody who likes it. I've got my contact information that will go in there. Oops, I didn't mean to show you the thank you. That was the thing I was trying not to ruin the surprise. But okay, so here we go. It's got this structure, and it's always, these pieces: a welcome, a grounding, a gathering, an exercise, a light and lively, and an exercise, and usually an affectionate closing, and hopefully you do some evaluation, but we're not going to do too much of that today. We're just doing question and answer at the end. And I have a little disclaimer on timing that I packed a lot of important stuff in here, so it might be a little bit, question and answers might overlap into your life. If you're interested in knowing something and we didn't have time, feel free to be in touch, or we could talk a little after the thing is formally over. So that's that. So that's agenda preview, and I think that's basically what I've got. I will just address briefly that these are the community agreements I'm most passionate about, that we have the right to pass, that anything that anyone doesn't like to do, you're perfectly welcome not to do it. Share the air fairly is really helpful, so that it doesn't get to be any one person's thing. It's mostly my thing today, sorry about that, but when it really works beautifully, we're all kind of equally shiny. All opinions are welcome and perspectives honored, but aim for an open mind while we're here, because I'm going to be bringing up some challenging concepts, especially in a world that is really going to town on trying to get the other person out there to do something different and feeling like that's going to make us okay. It's not. It's self-responsibility is the only ticket to sanity within you, and within me, at least that's what I firmly believe. And just affirm, see the shiny in each other. Even if somebody had an emotional meltdown, we actually love those, because that's on the way to something healing. Just remember, that we're all absolutely golden and solid inside. We may have some expression that's not that, because we're moving through something. So that's basically the ideas. I can stop for one moment and just see if anybody has an additional agreement that they would like to put forth in the community, something you're used to that makes you feel comfortable and safe. And if I don't hear anything in about 11 seconds, I'm going to go back to work. Okay, well, you can pop it into, you're welcome to, if you see something that needs addressing, you're welcome to address it. So next, we're almost there to your part. Actually, not quite, because usually I invite somebody to do a grounding, and a lot of times at this point I'm building these work agendas with other people, and they already have parts assigned that they've decided they want to take on. But this time I wanted to do the grounding, just because I want to invite this concept of self-responsibility, accountability within. Would somebody be willing to read that first quote on top that starts with everything? I know there's some folks don't have Rebecca's willing. Yay. Thank you.
I can. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Viktor E. Frankl.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, he was in Auschwitz, and he was, living absolutely no flesh on his bones, no hope apparently, but he found the hope within, and he would take the little bit of scraps of bread that he had and give them to other people. He just chose to be responsible for his inner world, and because of that, he, changed millions upon millions of lives, just because now we have a different perspective that being an apparent victim is not good enough for a child of God. That's just not what we're here to do. So, that's a hard pill to swallow for some people. I understand that. And I was a victim for most of my 64 years, or at least a large part of them. And that means, thinking that the things that happened to me were, I had justification for having just a crappy life because of things that happened to me. And that's true, but it doesn't serve me or anyone else. And I want to serve me and others. So I'm going to just invite us to close our eyes if you're willing, or just soften your gaze if you're not, or just sort of just relax into your being. This is not part of Alternatives to Violence Project, but I do it because it grounds me, and it just connects me with others and feels really good. And so I just take some beautiful deep breaths. And just notice, what it feels like to be alive as you, the being that you are. I'm going to stop the share for a bit. And maybe, you might have had a hard time as a kid, but somewhere in there was a child in your past that just knew a spark of joy at just being who you are, just being playful. And if not then, now, something that you just know about yourself that is just thoroughly unique. And thoroughly worthy. And that something in us is something that loves to shine. It's the thing in us that loves the most. It would love to express itself and just offer that light to others as if it was the sun and the others are the flowers. And then, of course, there are other flowers that want to shine their sunlight on you. And if we think about things that we might have that are obstructions to that light in us, just opinions about ourselves, feelings of handicap because of things that have happened to us or physical conditions, emotional, developmental, anything. That if we just notice, do we ever put those beliefs in front of the light we are so it doesn't shine properly? And in this moment, if you just touch into your heart, just feel the love you have in your heart for yourself and for others, and for even the choices we make to block our light, that it's all just part of an unfolding story. But stories are made to have happy endings. At least my favorite kind. And the happy ending is we can take responsibility and make other choices and let the darkness that we place in front of our own light fall away so that we can come and do what we were created to do on this planet. I'm just going to quiet for a moment and invite you to feel into that for a bit. And also, just as a little thought before we go, here we have a bunch of little lights all joining together and maybe working towards shining together, making an even bigger light. And just to notice any gratitude you feel for that. The folks on this call wouldn't be here if they didn't have a desire to be of assistance. They didn't feel a desire to be of service. And then finally, just whatever is a higher power in your mind, just to invite that into your heart and to this circle and into your life, even to an even greater degree. Just a couple more nice deep breaths. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. See, that just helps me slow down. Okay, I know I'm here now. I remember. So the next thing is the gathering, and the gathering is, there's a little quote that goes with it. Anybody willing to read that little quote? And it could be you again, Rebecca, if you're willing.
Sure, I can do that. A word or sentence describing
No,
my
this little
sorry.
quote up top, the when
Yes. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Again, Viktor Frankl from Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah, I went on a quest for his quotes today. Oh my God, he's got some amazing stuff. Okay, so this is the gathering, and I'm going to put it in the chat, but it's a word. We can do a sentence. You can do a few sentences because we got not that many people, but if there was a bunch of people, it would have been a word. But describing my feelings about claiming 100% responsibility for my experience on Earth. So I'm talking about the whole total catastrophe, the total joy. It's all your invention. Just imagine if that's true and see what are your feelings about that. So a word describing my feelings, or no, a sentence. Change that sentence to describing my feelings about claiming 100% responsibility for my experience on Earth. And I will stop share. I will go first. Let me just see. In the groups that I do, I don't always go first, but the job with this is to model how it goes. So I am becoming more and more comfortable with the idea of I am 100% responsible for my experience on Earth. I've gotten so much more of a spiritual picture that we are all little gods doing our little creation thing, and we are creating whatever we see. And if we all took responsibility and just said, okay, if I clean this up on the inside of me, if I get out of judgment on the inside of me, then the outside of me has to be reflective of that in some way. There's going to be some change. And I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Ho'oponopono prayer. It's an ancient Hawaiian prayer, but literally somebody who took responsibility for himself with this prayer, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, in a forensic mental hospital, criminally insane people, worked his way through just about everybody in that facility healing, because he took on what he was experiencing of their sickness, and he just claimed total responsibility for it and healed himself in relation to it. Now there's a book about this. I could send anybody they want an article about this. So I'm starting to be okay with this notion. And I would like to pass it on. Oh, that is Ruby. Can I pass it to you, Ruby? And anybody who can't talk with your mic, put it in the chat and we'll read it.
I can't see it.
Okay, it's a word or no, excuse me, a sentence describing my feelings about claiming 100% responsibility for my experience on Earth. 100% responsibility. And you can, not a sentence, a couple paragraphs is fine.
It has been lovely to stop blaming and shaming other people for things that I observe or hear. I have learned to just be present, and when I give meaning to something, make it meaning that works for me, not blaming for others. I get to create from the inside out my life. Thank you.
You want to pass to somebody?
I will pass to Sue.
She's got to write in the chat, I think, but thank you, Ruby. She's going to write. We'll read it. Okay.
This one is complex for me. There's a way in which, one aspect of my feelings, I feel warmth, I feel excitement. There's a sense of liberation in it. And there's also some confusion, hesitation, trepidation. I have sometimes applied concepts like this one in ways that, in retrospect, I look at it like overriding myself in ways that have that I feel concern about, I guess I could say. And so there's something I guess I'm wanting to work out in relation to this for myself. I've moved away from it for a while to give space to what I hadn't been attending to when I was doing this more fully. And I would like an integration between the two things, that I'm not there yet.
Thank you. Susie's got her hand up, so that would be a good person to pass to. Go ahead,
forgot
Susie.
about passing, but Sue has already put something in the chat also.
Oh, and Tina Stellhorn, Stellhorn, where are you? Liberating, empowering, and okay, and Sue had one. I've been in a negativity spiral recently. So it's been a bit of a struggle to be positive. I accept responsibility for my negativity, and I am working to improve and have more positive feelings and self-worth. Okay, technically, without comment is what we're supposed to be doing during a gathering, but go ahead, Susie. Thank you. That was.
I think I just wanted to comment, just grounding myself. I'm not 100% out there, as responsible for my experience on Earth, but at the same time, I am responsible for everything that I do. So I feel like I sustain, the environment as far as, recycling, as far as, having plants around the house, having outside gardening as well. So that to me is also, at least I'm appreciating Earth at the same time. That's my share.
So I think we've got everybody. Brian, are you participating? No, I think Brian is kind of helping. He's behind the scenes worker here. Tina did already participate. And Kathy, would you like to put something in the chat? Something describing your feelings about claiming 100%. Might as well go for the gusto. Responsibility for your experience on Earth. Well, if we see it in a moment, we will read it. And meanwhile, what do we get next? In a number of my little piecework groups, we do schmooze time after the gathering. So we don't talk about each other's stuff unless we ask permission afterwards, but it's just a lovely thing to dig into some meaty topic and then just take it apart in a little schmooze time afterwards. So that's something you could consider. The next thing is called a response-able. And that is another way of looking at responsibility. If you don't like the fact that you mean I had something to do with that, you mean I'm to blame? Well, let's look at it like, you know, at the very least, you have the ability to respond. You're the only one who can come up with some kind of a response that's going to make you okay within yourself around whatever the thing is. So there are some tenets involved with the Earthwaking community that have just altered my whole perception and really, really been helpful. So I'm calling this a beefed up or an enhanced brainstorm, heartstorm. If somebody notices, Kathy put something in the chat, would you let me know and read it? Because I can't see the chat right now, if that comes to be. So what I'm looking for is people who, I mean, gems that you already have about, was there a time that you really felt fully a victim of circumstances and you've adopted things that are, you know, really helpful perception shifts that you already have. So we can just put a few of those out there, and then I have a bunch that I want to share too. So if people can pop some out, then I'll read one or two, and then we'll pop some out, and we'll get through all these wonderful things to consider about responsibility, being self-responsible. So anybody have a treasures of their journey? And if you can see somebody wrote in the chat, would you let me know those? I'll type them up. Anything coming to mind?
That I make my own meaning.
Okay.
I don't accept what other people say something means.
So I make my own meaning. And what was that last part?
I don't have to accept what other people believe something means. It's like the Japanese man who had the donkey in the sun. And the donkey broke his leg and the son got sick and didn't have to go to the military. And
Oh, right. There's more to that story, right?
absolutely. All people would listen to it and say, oh, that's so horrible, like the people in the village described whenever he would say that something had happened. And in time, he just got to a place where it was just, life is what it is. And I get to call it what I would like to call it, rather than what others tell me things have to mean.
That's beautiful, right? Because he was, oh, broken leg. Oh, you poor thing. You poor thing. It's like, you know, but then he didn't go to war. Oh, you lucky thing. Oh, you lucky thing. But, you know, it's like, so. Okay, anybody? I'll pop one in. So if somebody pops one in, I'll pop one in on top of them. So
There's one in the chat now.
Okay, thank
from
you.
Kathy.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it out loud?
Yes, please. Yes,
Okay.
please.
It says, I am and have been accountable and accept responsible for my experience on Earth. I had polio at 4.5 years of age. My mom was told I would never walk again, talk again, and would be a living vegetable all my life. She raised me to be positive and live life and take responsibility. I recovered, went in the Navy, have 5 degrees, and I'm going for my doctorate in human services and work in peer support and serve my community, my state, and my nation.
Gorgeous. See, that's it. That's a person who just says, nope. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for being you on this plane as you are. That's beautiful, beautiful. So all things happen for a reason. That's one of the things. Does everybody, more or less on this call? I mean, just notice where you are with these things we're hearing, whether they come from me or from anyone else. Are you making your own meaning? Are you able to accept that what others believe does not have to be the truth for you? And are you being accountable and accepting responsibility for your experience on Earth? So just to the degree you are, it's not a judgment thing, it's a just notice thing, because if you notice, then you have an opportunity to shift if you want. So all things happen for a reason. Anybody else got any? I'll even look inside, because I'm actually bringing things, and I didn't dig inside myself for these right now.
I can share one.
Good.
Something I've been working with recently is kind of an experience of unconditional belonging. That there's because I'm here on this earth, I know I belong here on this earth, and that's not about whether other people particularly like me or want me around, or what anybody else thinks about me or how they respond to me.
Wonderful. I love that. Okay. All things happen for good for those who believe. And this is another self-responsibility. So believe what? That all things happen for good. So just feel into that. How do we really, all things happen for good? Even the horrors that are taking place? Is that a possibility? Is that even a possibility? We are either open to the notion that that's possible, or we're not. And it doesn't mean that we won't be sometime in the future. But if we are heading toward an unfolding and a resolution, which I happen to believe we are, then all things must be, the building blocks for that other condition. And there are people that speak of, no, that was supposed to happen. I know, because it happened. That's another thing to consider. Is that something that's too uncomfortable to believe, or a lot of these are just put them in the drawer and take them out later and hold them and see what you think, and put them in the drawer until unless it might be different later. Anything else anyone wants to come up with? Right, here's another one from Earthwaking. Every adversity carries the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. That's amazing. And if you really, and I have literal experiences of miracle stuff happening where I burned myself profoundly, and I said, let me apply this notion to this pain. And I didn't have an expectation that it was going to do anything, but I just let me bring gratitude and love into this moment. Let me just feel the love, feel the gratitude, because this is really hurting. And I just, while simultaneously in pain, I was feeling gratitude and love, assuming that there is a gift for me in this. And within 10 minutes, my pain was gone. I had blisters on my fingers, but I had no more pain. And that happened also for I had a abscess and a root canal, but with an infection, the same process. So I do that regularly now. And yesterday I had some really unpleasant things happen outside, and I was like, okay, there's a gift here for me somewhere. What one of the people says in the community is, if there's poop, there's got to be a horse. If there's pony poop, there's got to be a pony here somewhere. That one, and that is a tool for believing something positive. So anyone else got any more before I pop a few more, and then I will move on to the next exercise? And you can chime in anytime if one occurs to you. Maybe this will kickstart something. So if we're triggered because something bad happened, that's an opportunity to celebrate, or at least to remind yourself, oh, there might be some opportunity here, and consider the opportunity. What could I use this for? I had You know, it's many examples in my life. Like I had a therapist at one point, and I'm going to use this therapy that I don't like for the purpose of being honest with someone. Okay, every adversary carries a seed of an equal or greater. Bye, Kathy. I don't know what every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. Tina is somebody who's been to that community, but I don't know about, oh, yes, you got the quote correctly. Yes. I forgot I was saying something. Oh yeah, using therapy for opportunity to be honest. You can use all kinds of negative opportunities. Like there's times when people are just doing things I don't like, and I can use it as an opportunity to express myself. I'm going to take this opportunity to practice being honest. What a concept with this person. And it usually has great benefits. Yes, I got that all, Tina. Okay, just a couple of more. And I guess at this point, since nobody's popping any out, just take it as an opportunity to feel into the statements as I give them to you, and just see what you resist, what feels like it's a possibility, what kind of, I loved how Rebecca said, it's warm and it's liberating, and I'm, not quite there in this particular way, but if there's any kind of warmth or sense of freedom attached or what. So what we resist persists. So if you feel resistance, that's actually a wonderful opportunity to say, oh, there's something there that I could look at. What we focus on expands. So if we're spending a lot of time feeling like a victim, that's what we can expand. But if we spend a lot of time feeling like an overcomer, or feeling like I am just simply God's gift and I can do anything I want. And I'll tell you, Ruby, I have seen that's pretty much where you've been at. Somebody who just really, you focus on just being a powerful creator. You do not walk around with victim anymore. Did you ever kind of have any kind of victim thing in your life?
Of course I did.
Of course I did. Good.
Probably 20 years ago or so, I had these awful feelings. And I used to say I just hated white people, having grown up in Montgomery, Alabama, where I witnessed and found myself the subject of just gross discrimination and just bad treatment. And I saw it in the lives of other people. And my response was to create like a mesh around me so that people would energetically just stay away. And I learned over the years that forgiveness was a powerful way to be able to release all of that. And it helped me more than it helped many people who did and said things that were unacceptable. And that some of the people who'd done things were dead, and they would never be able to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. So I just let it go. It was like, I don't have to carry this ball and chain for the rest of my life. And now when I encounter people and things that are just horrific, the meaning that I make is they have got a problem and need empathy, rather than to go to that place of anger and hatred, and to just give them space, keep it moving.
So that's another self-responsibility tool is, I don't know how you worded that, but
well, I can't fix people. I can only address me from the inside out. And many times I wonder if I do that other than breathing deeply and choosing to have health in my mind, in my body, in the space around me, to just really love me, to let love be the point of departure in my thinking, in my speech, in my actions. And it has radically changed the quality of my life.
And forgiveness was in there.
Yes, forgiveness was just a letting go. I have 20 nieces and nephews, and my two older sisters were the parents of 9 of those 20 nieces and nephews. So they don't have parents to model the way or have conversations with. So I feel like now I'm the spare parent. And I'm amazed at how they watch my life. And even though one lives in California, and they're all over the place, none of them live near me. But I promise you, they know what I'm doing and what I'm about and how I interact with them and with other people in the world and how I serve. And from time to time, there'll be occasions when they provide feedback to me. And that has helped to elevate my awareness and sense of responsibility, that it's not just for me, but to help model the way for them so that they will live lives that are healthy and happy and whole and free and not triggered by all kinds of craziness in the world or just afraid to be in the world. I have a sister who has 4 sons, and with so much violence towards young Black men, I have found myself being very prayerful for them as they move in the world. And I find that I hold space around them to prevent injuries and these accidental encounters that become violent and sometimes fatal. I've decided not to be afraid for them, but to simply hold space, that whatever shows up, that they will be able to address it.
I'm kind of paraphrasing, but I want to catch all this. This is just such good stuff. Oh boy. You are chock full, Ruby. And I mean, it's just so apparent. Here is a woman who exemplifies self-responsibility. And I will tell you, because I happen to know her a little bit. May I brag about you a little bit, Ruby?
Thank you.
She's had 4 careers, three or four solid, like 100% careers in the military, in the human services field. She has a PhD. She's an incredible poet. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And this is the fruits, in my opinion, of self-responsibility, which for me I am stepping into this now. It's not something that I had to the extent that Ruby has, for decades at this point, I think. But looking at a role model like Ruby makes me very aware that if I take this on myself, if I just refuse to allow other people or even my own thinking and my own history dictate, how I'm supposed to, meaning, like Viktor Frankl's book was, I forgot the name of it, but it's all about meaning, that we are the creators of meaning for ourselves. So what can I use? Let's see what we resist. Okay, what we focus on expands. So if there is, joy, laughter, playfulness, human connection, if those things are the things we're focusing on versus spending our energy on just worrying about protecting ourselves or judging others or, feeling like we have some kind of righteous reason to, Ruby has righteous reasons to not like people, a whole freaking race of people. Ruby has opted not to do that. I happen to know somebody I'm in a relationship at the moment with who has not made that choice yet. And it's so painful for her and everyone around her. It's not like there's not legitimate, till the cows come home, she could complain. But when we really take it, historically, everybody tortures everybody and has from the beginning of time. So if we start to say, instead of, you must behave in such a way so that I can feel comfortable, but I choose to make comfort within myself, and you can do whatever you want because it's not going to have much of an effect on me. I'm sorry that you have to behave like that. This kind of ownership of your experience is profound. So,
Well, all I know is my life is so much happier. I mean, it is pretty amazing.
thank you. Here's another one. What we appreciates. That's very similar to what we focus on expands. I like that one. And when anything is happening, this is part of an exercise that's coming up shortly. How does this make me feel about myself? Because go ahead.
Outside of me makes me feel any way about myself. I choose how I will feel. And if I choose a feeling that's other than positive, then I accept responsibility to change that. Because if people outside of me hold that power and responsibility, it may never change.
Yep. Okay. And what's the last one? How's this? So how does this make me feel about myself? Somebody acts out in some way. You feel a victim. You don't feel, like you can, I am not, this is not my responsibility. And I personally feel like it's very possibly is your even your responsibility, in that you invited it into your experience for a reason, and that is to heal yourself. Every time something happens that, tweaks us in some negative way, thank you, because here I am vulnerable to that particular thing. Let me do the inner work. How does this make me feel about myself? And then invite the truth. It makes me feel less than. It makes me feel, unworthy. It makes me feel, and those things couldn't happen from the outside in if we didn't have a resonant wound within. The wound inside us is, hi, Karen. Woohoo! Karen's here. Nice to see you, my dear. Okay, I'm using all these earth-waking tenets. Karen is.
Noelle, may I interrupt?
Yes. Sure, Ruby.
I don't think I've been heard. And I say that because I believe that there's a real distinction regarding how something makes me feel versus how I choose to feel. It is always a choice for me. Nothing outside makes me feel anything. It's like you choosing to be able to heal yourself rather than simply accept that either it's the cold that's making you feel the pain that I have chosen. And I learned this with a guy in California who completed every major endurance training in the military. He's a Ranger, he's a SEAL, he's the Air Force Special Forces category. And he has been through some of those schools more than once. And when I have heard him speak about choosing to confront fear, to confront pain, to confront life, and to continue to choose without accepting that the world can make him feel anything, has been just an awakening for me. I mean, other than a car hits you and you're dead.
Thank you. Well, if that's not self-responsibility, I don't know what is.
Yes.
All righty, thank you. All right. And here's another one. I'm getting a little past time for we go where we live emotionally. Try this one on. This is so good. We go where we live emotionally, and we use our environment to take us there. So Ruby emotionally is at cause, and her environment is reflecting that back. Nothing out there can ruffle her because she has made this emotional world outside reflect the one on the inside. We go where we live emotionally, and we use our environment to take us there. And I can think of so many situations wherein I have been somewhere and it was a reflection of some hurt in me. It's like, such and such didn't hurt me. I hurt me, and I used such and such to do it. This abusive boyfriend didn't hurt me. I hurt me, and I used him to do it. I was in an emotional place where I wanted to be hurt, and I drafted this guy unconsciously. And he couldn't help it. That's what I had signed him up for, just to think about the possibilities of that one. So you just notice what we're getting on that outside world. And by staying stuck and viewing a problem as a problem, notice what we're getting, what's in the cookie jar for us. It could be significance. I am the most abused person on this planet. I am, so because people literally do have like, I'm more screwed up than you wars, attention, sympathy, some sense of being loved that is not our true love. It's a faux love that's really dysfunctional. And when you are questioning this in yourself, feel those chemicals, cop to it, Yeah, if I stay small, if I say that at the victim of these outside circumstances, then I'm getting something out of it. It's chemically. I'm noticing that this is a familiar pain that I kind of like a smelly blanket I'm attached to. Am I fighting for my smallness? What might happen if I took a different view? So those are some things to chew on in this realm. Any last thoughts or comments on this brain heart storm for you, Karen? If you weren't here for any of it, it was basically digging inside for ways that we have shifted so that we're no longer victims. Do you have anything you'd like to share? You're muted if you're talking, Karen. Can you? Oh, yeah, that's all right.
Okay. The number one thing I'm practicing is releasing control these days. And what you were just talking about and what Ruby was just talking about are very definite for me. I'm taking ownership of my feelings so much more than I've ever done before. And the way you put it about using our environment to get us there, just amazing. The other thing is, though, I am trusting in God. I'm trusting in my path. I don't need to know all the which ways, how it's going to happen. I used to try and control it all so perfectly, and all I managed to do was control my craziness with it all. So that is the biggest thing that I am choosing to work on, and I'm doing really well. So I have to pat myself on the back for that as well. Thanks.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That was great. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for coming. Anybody else have a thought they want to share on that before we move into our next light and lively exercise? All right, there's somebody wrote down at the bottom. We go where we live emotionally and we use our environment to get us there or get there. Yes. Thank you, Tina. Tina visited me once. It was lovely. Anyway, all right. So the Light and Lively is a centerpiece of our little AVP. And by the way, Ruby is an AVP facilitator as well over 13 years, I believe, or might have been 17. I can't remember. And what will be?
It will be 20 next year.
Oh my God.
They've gone fast.
That's fantastic. So she knows all about this. It's funny because when she's here, I think she's watching me do this wrong. I made a mistake over here and Ruby knows it. She doesn't care though.
I think you are so incredibly talented and gifted and skilled.
Thank you, Ruby. Anyway, all right. So the Light and Lively is let's see what it says here, share screen. People in our AVP workshops, these are most often held, at least in the US, in prisons. And it is so sweet to see the folks that are so miserable so much of the time because they're living in just awful conditions, just running around and laughing their asses off, having so much fun with these ridiculous games and tag games, and there's something called Jailbreak that makes everybody a total mess, and just such fun stuff. So it's not quite as exciting on Zoom, but we do the best we can. So it's just called Earthling Funhouse, and it's the idea behind it is we're going to be on a little funhouse ride. If you've ever been on one of those, these are a bunch of cars that are in a row and everybody gets strapped into the car, and then you ride around on these rickety tracks and scary things pop out at you. And this one is combined with mirrors, the funhouse that has the mirrors. So along with the horrors, you're looking at yourself and you're looking at all these, creepy things coming out at you in the mirror as well. And so lots and lots of mirrors. So we're strapped in for the ride, and the ride begins, and we're all bumping around in the ride, going, to the left, to the right. We're, on the rickety thing. And then out of nowhere, horrible things are popping out at us. And we're leaning left, right, forward, and back, and volunteers call out horrors that pop out at people. It could be at you personally, or just generally being alive on this planet. And they're, appearing in front of you, right in your face, or in the mirrors, or whatever. And it says, this could be abusive partner, debt, fighting with kids, a job you hate, people who take advantage of you, any kind of thing you might feel the victim of. Or if you don't, like Ruby, you might have to imagine something that somebody else might be the victim of. That we're going to call those things out, and everybody screams or whatever. And then I said, not too loud, we were going to think play here, not traumatizing each other. But so we're screaming, and then I will tell you the little part 2 of this exercise in a moment. So I'm hoping that somebody will do this with me so that I don't look like a complete fool all by myself. So the idea is we're all strapped in. Here we're sitting in our little car. We're waiting for the ride to take off. The guy straps us into our car, and then it starts to go slowly, and it's rickety. And it sounds like, we're going a little ways. And then we come to a corner, and anybody who wants to scream out any horror that they might experience, scream it out. And sharp left, sharp right, you just let's throw your body around. Thank you, people who are doing this. And I'll go like, boyfriend left me.
And then the other part is creating space for the team to give feedback, focusing on what support.
You're if anybody said anything, they're mute. You might be muted. So if you can unmute, there's only a few voices that are going now. Okay, Ruby, you're not playing along, and I know you can because you're AVP all the way. So go ahead, throw out something.
Oh God, I got bitten by a dog.
Bit by a dog.
A bird pooped on my head. A squirrel bit my finger. That actually happened to my neighbor.
You're muted, Karen, if you're popping in anything.
A little kid peed in my face.
Ew, you changed somebody's diaper.
Yes.
I was accused of stealing. Oh.
You are responsible for everyone else's feelings.
Are you on the funhouse ride, Tina, or are you the therapist on the side?
Always, everywhere, everything, all at once,
You're
right?
breaking up. I can't make it out, Tina. And Suze came home to pet poop on the floor.
I was preparing a board and I hit my thumb with the hammer.
Oh, I am in massive debt. Oh.
I was rushing to get the car locked and I slammed my finger in the door.
Karen, you're off. What do you have?
I don't even know. I have doggy drool all over my leg.
Wow.
Sue's got something. I burnt the toast. Oh.
I was late for a Zoom.
Oh God.
I was very late for a Zoom, and I'm so sorry.
All right. Well, I think we got the idea, and that was a light and lively, and that certainly breaks up the energy. And it does, if you'll just notice, brings something out in us to be goofy with people as adults. That's a certain type of courage. It really is something that is worth noticing, even that, because that's a responsibility. I'm not, like people get on the elevator or whatever the thing is, like a fire is raging and nobody moves. You've seen those experiments. Like that's because we're so afraid to break, this tradition of being okay socially in some way, and it really will burn up rather than be the oddball. So this gives you your self-responsibility oddball power back, and thank you for taking it. I really appreciate that. So.
As soon as we stopped, I thought of something hilarious that just happened to me I was walking in St. Bernard, I'm dog sitting, and I was talking to my brother-in-law on a walk with me, and I whacked myself in the head with a bag full of turds. Woohoo!
Wow.
First time I've ever done that one. So how's that for silly?
Thank you, Karen. You win. We got, I burnt the toast. No. I'm sorry, yours got lost, Tina. It broke up because you're probably just out of range. But if you come back, you have permission to interrupt whatever we're doing. All right. So last but not least, we have plenty of good time. Well, no, we don't have all that much time. No, we don't. Okay, so I'm going to just do this little thing to the extent I'm able to get it across. And as I said, I was willing to, send this agenda to anybody who wants to. While I have it now, I'll put this information in the chat on how you can get a piecework toolkit and other resources relating to the things I shared today, ways to be in touch with Earthwaking and ways to be in touch with AVP, a little video about AVP. So all of that's going to go in the in the chat, and you can find me on Facebook, or there's some links there here. But oops, did I do the wrong thing? I certainly did. How did I do that? Okay, one moment. Exit full screen, and that was weird. Oops, there's nope. How did I do this? Oh shoot! Oh, I found it. See, whoa! I just erased all the work I did all afternoon. I love that. Here we go. Okay, so those are the links, and this is another Earthwaking. This whole thing really is Earthwaking tenets and gems in a piecework format, because I was so transformed by my experience with them that I wanted to share what they're up to. So I guess I don't have to show you, but it's called Better Seeds, and it is an internal kind of a pay attention meditation sort of thing. Wow. So if you're able to, if you're doing something else and you can't, oh well, but if you're able to, just settle down and go quiet and go within. This is a really powerful tool that gives you some kind of awareness that the world we live in is our creation based on the interpretation of a young child, the child we were. Things happen to us, traumatic things often, and we invented a story about ourselves based on those events. And so this is called Better Seeds, because we planted seeds that were not helpful, not accurate, and we've actually been living those seeds out. We haven't been conscious of, didn't take responsibility for the fact that we planted seeds that have us living as much less than we truly are. And so this is what that is. Jonathan England, who was the founder of this organization, talks about a 18-inch journey from the head to the heart through the emotions. We seem to want to do everything we can to avoid certain kinds of pain, but we truly are big enough to feel our feelings. And every time something comes up that triggers us, we're feeling pain. So if you can clean it out, you're actually like, let me buy now, pay later. which reminds me, I didn't do something I was supposed to at the end of that Light and Lively, which was tell you that ride we just went on was a pay now. You went on the ride, now you got to pay. And the payment is pick one of those things that was a challenge for you and be responsible for it in the future. So no more hitting yourself in the head with dog poo. If you choose, that's a choice, right to pass. But anyway, okay, so I'm gonna get into my body and close my eyes and just feel a little bit also. And I will do this exercise along with you guys here, but it's better seeds. We're making a journey from our head to our heart. We're gonna have a little bit more insight into some area that we have not taken responsibility for a lie we told ourselves as a very young child. Doesn't always go that way, but often it does. So the idea is to think of an area that's uncomfortable in your life now, that you feel like, this is could be related to money. It could be related to relationships, it could be related to anything at all, your work situation. And it could be connected to I'm always, or I always, or I never, things that are like kind of, just sentences we carry on ourselves, like we're always repeating that sentence. No one ever listens to me. I'm always the last person anybody thinks of. You might just, those kind of big fat lies that we tell ourselves and suffer with. Okay, just to find that thing and just to notice how it feels to have this mistake. Well, I'll just call it this belief, this belief that affects our life all the time, because it's kind of just a staple thing that's just unpleasant that we have to deal with. If you can find one of those. And then feel into how this feeling makes you feel about yourself. This statement, I'm always going to be poor, whatever it is. How does this make you feel about yourself? Some common feelings that we all share, universal. It makes me feel like I'm not enough. Makes me feel unlovable. Makes me feel unworthy. So just allow yourself. You are big enough to have your feelings. You have them anyway. Jonathan says, by chance or by choice, you're going to experience them anyway, but you can choose to experience them and do something about them. So just feel that for a little bit and just see if you can come up with a memory of a time in your life when you felt that as like the first time, a young child, if you can get that far back. When did I feel that kind of discomfort before? And see if a memory comes. And I'm told that the first one is usually the one, even if you don't think it makes any sense. And sometimes we'll have one like that, something that happened 10 years ago. And usually a 10-year ago thing has roots farther back. But just to, you can work with that if you like, or you could just say, was there a time before that? When was a time before that I felt this hurt associated with this habitual state that I find myself in? So if you have gotten hold of an earliest memory or an earlier memory, just see if you could feel it, be with it, feel as the child as best you can. Just feel the discomfort of that moment, because ideally we're looking for the time when you had the experience and then shortly thereafter you were all different. Something changed that day. I was feeling light and pure and innocent, and then this thing happened, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I guess I'm not what I thought I was. I guess the world is not what I thought it is. So just see if you can isolate that and feel that. And just think on, what did you tell yourself when this event happened? Did you tell yourself, no one ever is going to care about you? You're not enough. You're not lovable, because that in that moment, something happened that made you think that that was true. And it's not that the event hurt you. It's that you are a powerful child of God, and your belief created your experience. You were responsible for that. Even if you were horribly abused, there is a possibility that a child who is horribly abused is probably like one in, a zillion, but could say, wow, that person is really screwed up, and not take it personally. But that isn't the way we're built. So we do take things personally as children, but that doesn't negate the fact that we were the one that planted the belief that harmed us, that we were unworthy, that we were dirty, that we were not, whatever it was. So if in that moment, when you're going to plant the seed of the belief, invite somebody in who would never lie to you. Never, even if it hurt your feelings, never lie to you. And I see I am very close to the end of this time, and I'm apologizing because it's probably going to be about 5 minutes extra, but we're almost there. So somebody who would never lie to you, it could be a, spiritual person you relate to. It could be a character in a comic book or a book. It could be a pet. It could be a favorite relative or friend, but this is a being that would not tell you a lie no matter what. And as this thing happened, just before you're going to plant the seed that you're worthless in some way, ask them, is this true? Am I worthless? Am I not enough? Am I in any way unworthy? And now ask yourself, are they telling you the truth? And while we got you there with somebody who loves you and would never lie, and with you and with the child, if you could tell that to the child in this moment, if you could just say, that was not true, we made a mistake, and allow that child to connect with you in whatever way the child is willing, whatever they're asking for in the moment. Some might be standoffish, some might be, want you to wrap them in a hug. But if you could take responsibility as an adult in this moment and tell that child, that is a lie we're not going to believe anymore. And if we fall into a moment that I forget, I am responsible. You remind me, I remind you, together we're just going to move through this one. It's a lie. And with that, you can wrap things up with that little crew as any way you like. And just, I'm going to be quiet for, a minute or so, and just come back as you feel that you want to. All righty then. Thank you, people, you wonderful people. There's a way we do it in Earthwaking. We see each other out in love, but I meant to give you question and answer time. So I have my phone number in the chat. You are free to call at will and ask any questions you want. I don't mind staying a little extra if that's okay with Brian and answering any questions for anybody who wants to stay. I apologize for the overlap there. I wasn't terribly responsible with time. I did my best. Hi, Tina.
That's no problem with us. Sorry, I've been in and out. I've had another Zoom thing that I've had to bounce back and forth, but I enjoyed everything that I did here. And we're going to have these presentations. They're all recorded on our website. So shareselfhelp.org. You'll be able to find them. I can put that in the chat. But thank you very much for the presentation. And if you want to stay on there, on here for a while, it's fine with us.
Thank you. It's up to others. I'm willing. It's because I meant to have a Q&A and didn't pull it off.
Gotcha. All right.
If everybody's ready to go, I would just ask somebody to see us out in love. If somebody's got some little few loving words they want to share, I would appreciate that. Anybody who's got the heart for it.
I'll say I've learned a lot throughout the whole day, bits and pieces everywhere. And it's nice to know that I went from a career that I had that was dysfunctional and that I couldn't do. And then I had a breakdown, and I've managed to segue into something different, or I feel like in some way I'm able to help people. So I'll say that. Thank you very much.
Ryan and self-responsibility. Woohoo!
Right.
So Ruby's going, okay. You got something wishy for us, Karen or Tina or Rebecca? It was really lovely to meet you, Rebecca, if you're still tuned in.
I posted in the chat if Brian, I believe his name is, can share the link for the replay, because I bet there's so much more beautiful insight.
I'm not making out your words well enough, Tina. I don't know if anybody else heard her properly, but I didn't get enough of that.
Look at the chat.
In the chat, I'll look in the chat. Thank you. You're welcome, Rebecca, and thank you. You were very helpful right in the beginning when I needed you too. You just did a lot. Thank you. Thanks, Noelle and all. All right.
I am thankful for all of us getting together. We all have the same goals, and I'm thankful that we all care about ourselves and each other enough to be here to do this sort of gathering. And I'm thankful for you, Noelle, for making it happen. I'm sorry I was late, but I'm still leaving this meeting with love, and I thank you very much for that. And I always get insight from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's a mutual love thing going on here, Karen.
Mwah.
All right. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Goodbye. Bye, Tina, beloved.
Hi, can Brian put the link for the chat where to see the replays? Sorry, I know I have a.
I'm sorry.
Can you put the link? Can you put the link in the chat for the replay?
For the let's see.
I can also, I mean, if you let me know what you need a link to, Tina, I can make sure you get it. If you're, but I don't know which links.
When
Please share a link.
Closes, it
Oh,
will,
for recording. She's got it. I'm sorry, I didn't see that, Tina.
You'll send me an email. That's what I just put in the chat, and just ask me what you're looking for, and I'll be able to get it to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. It was great to see you guys. Thanks for supporting.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
Bye.